And, within a few weeks, you see people riding around Monaco with onions in their pockets to like have a recovery onion after their ride.
Something might work for someone, and that's n equals one. It worked for that one person. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to work for all. And like you say, perhaps some of the older cyclists or some people who have some credibility and have been there and done some things, and they're saying, yeah, I did this and it worked amazing for me, might not necessarily work that well for other people as well. And it's a real hard sell sometimes, and you spend a lot of your time debunking myths and having to try and educate from that perspective. I know Tim does a lot of that. I imagine that connection between chef, nutritionist, and rider, there's probably some educational things going on there where people have said, I've been thinking about this, or I've seen this, or done that. I imagine that's quite an important part of that role as well.
Yeah, 100%. I think luckily now, most teams are quite invested in nutrition. So it's definitely getting better, but it used to be people seeing what other people did when they were riding their bikes, and they would, just copy that because if someone was doing it, then it must be right. So a story about Chris Froome and Geraint Thomas going for a ride in Monaco, and they always had people joining them on the ride, and they would put an onion in the pocket. And then when they got back, they would, people were asking like, "Why the onion?" And they would see like, "No, no, that's the newest thing in nutrition that we will eat a raw onion after training." And within a few weeks, you see people riding around Monaco with onions in their pockets to like have a recovery onion after their ride.
I couldn't think of anything worse.
So I think that sort of highlights where we came from, where writers and staff and stuff would get their information from other writers and staff or social media, whereas now it's way more informed in most teams, and we have professionals taking care of it.
Yeah, and of course there's the whole saga around Chris Froome posting his omelette as a pre-race, and everyone was like, "Oh, it's super low carb, and just having an omelette for his breakfast before a big stage and things." And there's lots of context to these things, so it is fascinating. It is fascinating.
Yeah, and I think you can always spin it in whatever direction you want, and there's obviously people trying to push their own agenda, which I very much saw when I was helping out at the AIS with Louise Berg doing one of her big studies down there, where you know you would have people taking, as you said, a random picture from somewhere and then using that as evidence, but they didn't see that it might have been a time trial day, and that was just his light snack for breakfast, and then 3 hours before the stage, he would guzzle down 400 grams of pasta or something like that, and then he would get on the bike. So, social media, they're great and they're funny, but it takes things out of context.
Yeah, yeah, and it's becoming a difficult world. Um,
Yeah, if I just like may add, like one of the things that like as a nutritionist in a professional cycling team or any like sports organization, I would be like, well, if everyone thinks that I'm so good at my work and we are successful, why not deceive the opponents by letting them know that we are doing something that we are actually not doing, just to basically make sure that we are still ahead of the game. So I still don't know how much of all these kind of things that you see on social networks and on the media is actually true and what isn't. But so you always, I feel like, need to take those things with a pinch of salt, especially when you just see one plate or one single moment in the 24-hour long day.